Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. Good morning, Rich.
How was your weekend?
Our weekend was absolutely terrific. We had
Oh,
some beautiful weather here in South Florida.
a little
Uh,
bit on the chilly side, but we're enjoying it.
it's chilly for us natives especially. I know you came down from what, Philly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Our blood is so thin now because we've been here for 9 years. We're
gotcha.
just like a native.
Uh,
Rick, I thought it would be interesting for our incredible audience to learn a little bit about us, starting with you. Some
okay.
background on a native Floridian who is in 18 businesses of all kinds and is more than 20 years old. So start wherever you would like to start. Give us,
All right.
tell
So
us who you are.
this will be a good speech to put people to sleep if anybody's an insomniac. And no, I'll try and shorten it a little bit, but I am a second generation Floridian. My grandfather moved down here in 1914 when the state
Wow.
bird was a mosquito. They hadn't dug the filled in the swamps, and there was no air conditioning. So I grew up here in South Florida and in the Coral Gables area, and that's the beginning. And very rare to uh, have a native Floridian, I think now, and especially a second degree native Floridian, just because it was such an inhabitable place at
Yeah,
that time.
right.
So that said, you we were talking a little bit about how I got into selling hotels and set up my company of Premier Hotel Realty,
Right.
uh, selling boutique hotels. And actually, I started out with the idea of selling hospitals and adult living facilities, which is probably very profitable and an interesting field. But frankly, I found it a little bit depressing to be around that all the time.
Uh-huh.
So by chance, I was trying to figure out if that what else I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something upbeat. And talked to somebody about hotels, and was thinking, well, that's a great field potentially, and did a little research about how many there were. And if you look around here in South Florida and many other areas, you'll see probably at least four at every interchange of I-95.
Right.
And they do change hands regularly. So that's decided to change the name to Premier Hotel Realty. And just to back up a little bit, my background getting out of college out of the University of Florida was doing commercial appraisals. And so I had a little bit of background in, frankly, just about every kind of property.
Yeah, that was a very good background for this.
Yeah, so that was a good background. And I'd appraised hotels, I'd appraised apartment buildings, I'd appraised land, a brewery one time. So I got some wide experience doing that. And I did that for about 5 or 6 years. Uh, but anyway, I always loved real estate, and uh, got into almost by accident. Although I had my license since I was in college, I had a very good friend and client who wanted me to help run his business, and uh, he asked me to at one time to sell his warehouse, and we had a very good result selling the warehouse, and I made a nice commission selling that too. And then he asked me to sell his $1 million plus house, and I did very well with that. And more people started asking me to sell their properties, so that's how I got into selling real estate. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but not the niche, not the hotel niche. That came a little bit later when I decided to focus on that. And I think it's important to focus on something, whatever you do. I talk to a lot of small businesses, and some of you talked about some of the other businesses. I'm not going to get into all those, but talking to a lot of businesses, and you talk to a lot of business owners, and you ask them who's their best client, and they say everybody.
Yeah,
And
right.
you know, we know it's not, and it's really hard to market if you're going to try and market to everybody. So I focused on the hotel niche, and I did have clients that wanted me to sell other properties, and there was a time when I thought maybe having the name Premier Hotel Realty was going to be a problem, but it turned out not to be. People respect when you have a niche and you're a specialist, and so I've sold other properties too with the company, warehouses and land and other properties. But that's really, I just decided that I was going to sell hotels, and uh, with anything, it doesn't take a lot to become an expert. There's a lot of information out there, especially now on the internet, where you can learn a lot very fast about whatever field you want to specialize in, especially if you're going to focus on a very narrow niche. So, so that's it. And I started.
How long have you been in the hotel side of what it is you do?
Now it's probably about 12, 15 years. I'd have to look, and it depends when somebody watches this, but but at least a decade.
Okay, well, just in case anybody's checking dates, this is January. I have to look here. 13th.
125.
Yeah, 2025, January 13th. So 12 or 15 years. What have you seen in terms of changes in that hotel arena with ownership, longevity with ownership, management company names change, even though ownership stays the same? Give us a little bit of information. I mean, when we look at a Marriott or a Hyatt or a Wyndham, it's not necessarily a Marriott, Hyatt, or Wyndham that owns it, but that's just the name on the edifice. Isn't that true?
That is true. That is true. And but I'll tell you what I've learned about sales is generally when you're selling a property type like a hotel, the owners know way more than I do about the business and about the property. My job is to connect them with buyers and sellers, which is not their specialty, but they've got a lifetime investment and a big investment in their property, so they know it really well. So I learn a lot about that, and frankly, I most of my clients are buying for cash. They know the industry. I'm generally not working with first time buyers, and the buyers are very knowledgeable too, because they ought to be if they're spending multi-million dollars to buy a business and a livelihood. So I learn a lot from every client that I have, every buyer that comes to me. I ask a lot of questions, and one of my mentors once said, telling is not selling. You got to ask a lot of questions, and everybody has different reasons to buy something. And as a salesperson, what I've learned is you got to listen and find out what's important to them, and then you can see if what you have meets their needs. And if you don't, then that's fine. Maybe you can be friends. Maybe you're not friends. Maybe you just move on. But you're not going to sell somebody. You're not going to sell somebody something that doesn't work for them. That's not what they're looking for, and it's very short term, very short term strategy to try and sell something to somebody where it's not going to work. Mike, go ahead.
Are you mostly representing the buy side or the sell side, or is it split?
I mostly represent the sell side, and I'll represent the buy side if it's my property or if it's a established client that I know, or sometimes with somebody that I really feel comfortable with. But it's very hard in the real estate business to be successful working with buyers. If you work with a seller, you know that if it sells, you're gonna get paid. If you work with a buyer, they may or may not buy. They may get outbid. And frankly, I don't find it as gratifying to work with the buyer, because my job then is to probably usually get it on the best terms and the lowest price. And I don't find that as rewarding as working with a seller and finding just the right buyer that thinks that they want to pay more for that property than anybody else. Frankly, it's a bidding system.
Sure.
High bidder wins.
Is there an average length of ownership in hotels? It's not like a house or an apartment. I mean, it's a business that turns over. Is there average length of time that owner wants to a hotel?
I'm going to say it's a little bit longer than a house generally, but maybe not that much difference. Probably talking about 10 years, but everybody's situation is different.
Sure.
I tend to work with a lot of boutique hotel owners, which tend to be smaller mom and pop operations, if I could use that term.
Sure.
And a lot of them, it's when their lifestyle changes. Maybe they work hard on a property, and a lot of them put a lot of sweat equity into their property. And maybe they have health issues. Maybe they want to move closer to their kids. Maybe they've got a lot of appreciation and they want to enjoy life more. Take that equity out of the property. So my uh, and I think with anything, with a house too, uh, the time to sell is when there's some kind of life change, and people tend to own for a long time, and they're not going to make a change as long as things are good. So maybe there could be mortgage changes, but with the way properties have been going over the last many years, equity's been going up so much that mortgages haven't really been a problem with balloons for most people. A lot of people thought there were going to be deals when COVID hit, but we were waiting for the distress to hit for a lot of people, a lot of the buyers, and it really never hit here in South Florida.
Hmm.
So really, it's life changes when something happens and somebody says, you know what, this doesn't fit my lifestyle anymore.
Is there a region of the country or the world, perhaps, that you focus on or enjoy most or have most of your business in?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And when I started out, I was I was fairly regional and did a lot of driving because I do like to show my properties myself. I don't think it's good salesmanship to let somebody else uh, look at the property without you being really participating. And I think that's the way a lot of the residential market operates. The buyer, the seller's agent lists it, and then he puts a lockbox on it, and then the buyer's agent comes over and opens the box and shows the house. Well, that's the first time he's seen it. How do you sell something? They don't know where the switches are. They don't know a lot of the nuances of a house that the listing agent might know. So, anyway, getting back to that, I was driving down to the Keys, which I love. I hated driving back, but it was an all day experience to do a 10-minute showing. So that was wearing on me, frankly. So I picked up the phone and started calling properties closer by and started focusing where I could throw a rock, basically. And I was kind of surprised myself that there was enough. I'm near a town called Lauderdale by the Sea. There's about 35 boutique hotels there. So you figure each one's going to change hands every 10 years maybe. Just in that small 1.5 mile town, there's going to be some business. But so that said, I do work in other areas. I sold last year one in out of the state. When COVID hit, was actually very good for my business. Initially, it was terrible. All the wheel, remember initially when COVID hit. Now it's 2025 already. It seems like yesterday, but
It does. It's almost 5 years.
so the wheels fell off all my deals in January.
Right.
By that was that no, I think it was February or March, but that was my best year up to that date because everything came back by November, December, and
Huh.
we're not talking on Zoom now. Remember, before COVID hit, nobody had half the people in the world or more never heard of Zoom. So if I did try and have a conversation like this, it took a long time to explain to somebody how to get on. Maybe they had a camera, maybe not. Now it's pretty easy, and we can do FaceTime. And since then, I've sold $5 million properties and across the state that I never saw. I never met my buyer in person, never met my seller in person.
Wow.
So being able to do business, we've done, I had a property that was under contract and the seller was putting on a new roof. The buyer was in Scandinavia and wanted to know how it was going, and I could take my iPhone and, show them the roof and show them the permit and all that. So it made the world a lot smaller. So that was a big change in the way we do business.
And what do you see for yourself in the next few years?
That's a good question, and something that I'm working on. It's actually very interesting. My wife got me a book about journaling and goal planning and figuring out what to do, because we actually do want to do more traveling. So I'm turning more to online. Focusing more on online and technology. AI is very exciting to me, what's available there and how that's evolving. But I will share with you, I just got this book in the delivered by Amazon, and it's about direct response social media marketing.
A little closer to the camera. Good.
Okay.
Good. Excellent.
So
Social media marketing. Measurable.
yes.
Good.
Yeah, so I love this, and this is really about how to make your ads work for you, and by working for you, very explicitly talking about making money for you. And a lot of advertising companies, A, want a lot of money, B, want to do more branding advertising, and that wins them awards in their industry, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to bring money to their client's cash register.
Right.
And I'm learning more about direct mail and social media marketing and how to make it effective and provide a return on the investment in terms of not just likes, but dollars.
So your wife bought you that book. So is she involved in the business, or just making sure that you do what she thinks is the right thing to do?
No, I actually bought that myself, and
okay.
But yeah, I get excited about that, and so I was excited to tell you about it because my wife's not as interested in that.
Okay.
So
how would someone reach you, Rick, if they had something that they wanted to chat with you about in the hotels? Next time we'll talk about your other ventures.
Okay, so I'll give you the hotel email. It's Rick, RICK, with a K on the end, at premierhotelrealty.com. So that's the best way to reach me.
Rick at Premier Realty.
Premier Hotel
Realty.com. I'll get that in this when I put this one up. I'll make a note so that people can see it, not just hear it.
Okay.
That's a very good background story on you, Rick Tobin. It's my pleasure to be with you. I just heard more. I've known you for a few years now, but I've learned more about you in this last 25 minutes than in the last 3 or 4 years. And
Well, and part of that's actually true. I didn't make it all up.
some of it you may have.
Uh,
Okay, I think we'll call it a short one for today, and we'll see how our fans, our multitude of viewers and listeners respond to this one. And as you all know who are seeing this, we are just getting started in this offering. And we think that being easy about stuff rather than trying to sell something or discuss the ills of the world, this is a lot easier to take, a lot more fun. And I've had several people. If you look on the posting of this on LinkedIn, people have really liked it.
I love to see it. Do you know by any chance that the numbers on the first episode and we
Over 300.
Well, that's actually very interesting because we haven't pushed it. You haven't really.
Nothing.
So
all it's done is post it and then repost it twice, and that's it. It's other people are sharing this thing, which is again, that's another indication that it's easy stuff. We're not forcing anybody to get their brain in gear necessarily, which they get plenty of, and we're not selling anything.
Right. Well, we'll push the brains a little bit more as we get deeper into it.
Yeah.
Per episode.
Good to be with you again today, as usual. And
all right.
I'll keep you posted on what's happening.
All right. So can they subscribe or click the like button, share it, and double your riches with